Oh, that's a big curb. Right, hey everyone, and welcome to Max Whips. Today we're talking about 5 things I love about my Audi S5. Number 1, and perhaps this is probably going to be the most obvious on the list. Let me show you. Number 1. The speed of this thing for me is remarkable. Now, I wouldn't put it in the ridiculously quick category. I think if you want to be in that, you need to be low 4s, sub 4s, and then you have the ludicrously, which is kind of early 3s and low 2s for 0 to 60. This does 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds and has a top speed of unknown, let's say. I've got 160 out of it, which as far as the dial goes on the German autobahns, and it was still pulling. So I'm not entirely sure. I was under the impression that the German manufacturer still had that gentleman's agreement, which electronically limited all of their cars to 155, but that doesn't appear to be the case on this car. The amount of people that have pulled up to me after we've been on a convoy together, Evos, Imprezas, heavily modified cars, Astons, and they've gone, Jesus, that thing is quick. The kind of resounding or reoccurring theme is, I didn't realise that car was that quick. And that brings me on to number 2, the looks, or the sleeper looks. The looks of this car doesn't shout, I'm really fast. It has 2 S5 front and back. It has small S5 badges on either side, but for me it doesn't really shout, I'm massively fast. I've de-chromed it, I've blacked out the windows, so it does look drug dealer-esque, but it doesn't scream, I'm a really fast car, which is, I think, why it shocks a lot of people. I remember the first week of owning this car, I picked up my friend Henry just to go, let's go for a cruise, have a look at this. And I saw an Aston in the distance and I thought, well, that's supercar territory, I'm never going to catch up. I caught up, we pulled it off an island onto a dual carriageway together, Palm Court in Derby, if you know. He put his foot down, I put my foot down, and he didn't pull away from me, and eventually I overtook. Now, I'm not saying we were racing, he obviously wasn't pushing it, but that made me realise, wow, this car is seriously quick. For reference, that was a V8 Vantage from around, I think it was 2014. So this is 3 years newer, but nevertheless, you'd put Aston Martin in supercar territory. So to even be able to compete with those or have fun with those shows you the speed of this car. Number 3, the interior. Now, I'm going to annoy a lot of BMW fans by saying, for me, out of the big 3 German manufacturers, excluding Porsche, you've got Audi and Mercedes, and BMW sat down here somewhere based on the interior. Now, I'm not saying that the gizmos and the gadgets and the tech inside are any different or on potentially even better than Audi or Mercedes, but BMW, when I sit in a new BMW, it feels like I'm in 2009. I'm not going to lie, nothing seems to have progressed over that 10 years in design. You've got dated dials, horrible vents. Anyway, let's talk about the car we're in as opposed to abusing BMW. Let's start with the steering wheel. You've got this lovely, thick, flat bottom steering wheel with these hooks for your fingers, just feels nice at high speed. It's slightly concave with red stitching, red and black on anything with wheels for me, so perhaps I have a bias. But the steering wheel's lovely. However, there is a caveat. If you are dangerous, not that I am, and you drive with your knee, not that I do, flat bottom steering wheels make that quite difficult. Something to bear in mind if you are dangerous. You have this brushed metal down the sides, across the center console. You have these fighter-esque switches that you'd see in a plane cockpit to go up and down. You can touch them to see what your options are and press buttons, press them to go to where you'd like. The noise they make sounds expensive. You have this clear glass rear view mirror. There is no frame. It's very sleek. It looks great. Overhead lights that you touch to turn on and off. There is no need to press a button, which is not only useful but just looks so elegant. You have this SOS button that makes me think I'm going to eject my passenger whenever I so please. These seats that are like bucket seats but not too aggressive hug you, and they are set to you as you'd expect in a car of this cost. Number 4, the practicality. This, I think, is the most practical car that I have ever owned. It's, now, let me just add, I've done a video, I'll leave a link here, of 5 things I don't like about this car, and one of the things I listed was the size. So I don't want to be accused of contradicting myself, but the size does make it difficult to park and etc. and leave at places. However, the size makes it very practical. This is a hatchback effectively, but the length of a large saloon or estate, so I can use the back. I can also transport 4 adults in comfort. I wouldn't say you could do 5. I don't think any car that's not actually got 5 proper seats makes it comfortable, but I've had 4 adult grown men in this car in comfort. There is one caveat to this. The coupe styling does make it difficult if you're really quite tall. I would say 6'2", 6'3" and above in the back, you might be getting on for some difficulty with headroom, but there's not going to be many out of you that are sat in the back of this car that are that tall. So the practicality of this car is perfect. I do need to add a caveat that I've taken my granddad out for years for breakfast every Saturday morning and done his shopping. And I've been in Peugeot 106s, Golfs, Jettas, what else have I had? Astras, all kind of basic cars that he enjoyed being in. He does not like being in this car. I think the coupe styling and this support on your leg here makes it difficult to get in. It's not supercar levels of kind of a hatch that you have to get into backwards, but if you have mobility issues or older or anything like that, you've got to understand that my perception of practicality is based on a young man's perspective. My gran once got into this car. I don't know where I was taking her, but what was the quote she said? Oh yes, I will never get in that car again, which I kind of half expected, but older people generally I've found don't enjoy this car, so it's only practical for people like me or younger people. Number 5, and perhaps the biggest cop-out on the whole list, the ease. Now, within 2 days, I understood how everything worked on this car, and there's quite a few buttons and electronics, but I don't know if it's some sort of Audi ingrained intuition or whether this car is just easy, but I've never got used to a car so quickly. I've never even had an automatic gearbox, and even that was very simple to understand. It just feels quality. Getting in and out, starting the car, all very easy. Stopping, changing the settings. There's even 8 buttons here that you can set your preferences to and assign specific tasks, but I've never needed to because I think everything works so well that the internal computer makes sense connecting your phone. I know it's simple, but it's the things that make a car very enjoyable to be in, and it ticks all of those boxes for me. Another caveat, my dad has driven this car for a period of the lease, and he said there's too many buttons, so perhaps there's a generational thing there, but for me it's perfect. Huge fan of this car. Now I'm going to leave it there before I get teary-eyed at the thought of this car being returned in a month or so, and I hope you enjoyed. I'll leave it there for now, and I'm sure I'll see you soon in another video. Ciao.